My name's Bryan Jennings. I'm a professional surfer, and this is my story. I remember the feeling of riding a wave for the first time. Something happened, something clicked in my little 10-year-old brain, because from that day forward I was completely crazy about surfing. By age 11, my parents were divorced. It was like waking up one day and not being able to breathe. And then from ages 11 to 14, I wanted to be the cool kid. I wanted to surf well. I wanted the other kids to like me because I was sponsored already. When I was 14 years old, a friend of mine took me and a friend on a trip to Hawaii. I'll never forget the day. It was like the best surf I'd ever had at that point in my life. Got in the car, totally tired, and just on our way back to the hotel. And I remember him saying, you know, Hawaii is a really spiritual place. And I was like, what do you mean spiritual place? And he said, well, yeah, there's angels, there's demons, there's things you can't see right now that are real. And I remember just going, what are you talking about? But it was the truth, and it was piercing my mind and my heart. And he said, no, yeah, God's real. Don't you know God's real? He started sharing some basic truths with me that I hadn't really thought about before. But it wasn't until I was about 16 or 17 when I started going to church because there was free pizza and cute girls. So like that was the reason why I went to church. And it was weird to me. They were singing songs, and I was like, I wasn't comfortable. I didn't grow up in church, so I was like, what is this? This is weird. But then the words of the worship songs started to make a lot of sense to me, or at least bring up questions in my heart and in my mind. Questions like, wow, so Jesus Christ died for me, like in my place, so that I could be forgiven for my sins. And so I deserved punishment, and that punishment was put on him on the cross. And the next thing I knew, I was realizing, wait, that's the most loving thing that someone could possibly do, is actually take my punishment on themselves instead of me having to take that punishment. By the time I was 17 or 18, I had everything that you're supposed to have. I was surfing. I was one of the best surfers in my school. I was popular. I had a pretty girlfriend. I was at the parties. I was having fun. And I'd come home from supposedly a perfect night, and I would just sit there on my bed about to go to sleep, and I would just start crying. And it would happen for like months. And I was like, what is my deal? There's just something empty in me. And I was just lonely. And I was just like, I have everything, but I have nothing. Something's missing. And then the worship songs at church and the things I started to learn a little bit about the basics of who God is at church, even though I was there for all the wrong reasons, started to make a lot of sense. And I just was in my bedroom, and I just said, Lord, if you're real, and I believe you are, I ask that you'll come into my life, forgive me of my sins, everything I've done that was wrong for 18 years, please forgive me, and change my life. I want to live my life for you instead of for me. Up until this point, my dream was to be a pro surfer. I had only done mediocre in amateur competitions, but never done well in a professional surf contest. The next weekend, on Saturday, there was a Pro-Am competition in my local town, and I ended up miraculously winning this contest. Like, the waves came to me, not to the other guys, to the point where I was like, sorry guys, like, I don't know, it was almost like cheating, but like, I know that I like received God last weekend. I don't know, I prayed this prayer. Now something's happening because the waves are coming to me, not to you. I apologize. My friends are freaking out. Oh my gosh, you just beat all the best pros of our city. You need to go tomorrow. There's another competition tomorrow up in Huntington Beach. You need to go to that contest and surf in that contest. And I'm like, I don't know, man, that one's like real. I go out my first round. Waves come miraculously to me, not to the other guys. I'm like surfing better than I've ever surfed. I have a perfect, great board that's working well. Round 2, round 3, round 4, quarterfinals. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm in the quarterfinals. And I'm sitting next to a guy from Rip Curl Wetsuits. And I said to him, I said, hey, if I win the contest today, will you sponsor me? And I was half joking because I was like, I'm not going to win this contest. He kind of laughed and he goes, all right, I will. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I will. If you win this contest today, I will. I'm like, okay. So that was in the back of my mind. Next thing you know, I'm in the semifinals. And in the semi, I'm like actually bummed. I was actually sad and almost angry. Like, God, I don't deserve this. You're obviously doing this, and it actually is making me mad. It's my dream to be a pro surfer, but I need to do it. You're doing it, and I want to do it. That sounds weird, but seriously, that's what was happening in my mind, to the point where I paddled out to this little spot where it was just like a deep zone in the bottom of the beach. And that's where waves were not breaking all day because of it. So I go over there and I'm just sitting there on my board with my arms crossed, and next thing I know, I look up and there's this huge wave coming, like perfect wave coming, the only one of the whole day that came to that spot. I'm like, God, you're ridiculous. I can't even believe you're doing this. I like laughed, but the wave was too good to pass up. Make it to the final, had 10 seconds, caught this one wave, took it to the beach. I'm up on the scaffolding where they're giving away all the awards. They're like, 4th place, some other guy. 3rd place, some other guy. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. And then he said that I won the contest. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? And I was driving home, and I'll never forget it because I was still a little bit angry with God. Like, God, what are you doing blessing me? I don't deserve this. I'm not doing this anyway, so you get all the credit. He reminded me of a verse in the Bible that says, my kindness leads you to repentance. God is so good that we'll want to stop doing the things that are wrong because we'll realize that He is good. And whenever He's telling us a command or asking us not to do something, it's only because He loves us and He's trying to block us from the pain and the suffering and the consequence of that sin so that we can then go the other direction and be blessed. The more I allow Him and surrender to Him, the more blessed my life has been. I'm just thankful for what God's done, and that's my story.